This tutorial is a continuation of the program we began in the previous one. So we had built the main functionality for the program. However, except for 4, we didn't deal with the other items. So this loop tests the what they want variable, and if it's equal to 1, it should print out the ordinary items. If it's equal to 2, then it should print out the positive items, and if it's equal to 3, then it should print out the harmful items. So we want to test this, what they want variable, for 1 or 2 or 3. It's possible for us to use different if statements. However, when testing a single variable for lots of values, then it's better to use a switch statement. The switch statement takes one parameter, the what they want variable, and tests it against different cases. So first, inside the curly braces of the switch statement, we write the different cases. In the case of 1, we want to display these items. Instead of writing code now, as we'll be displaying multiple items, it's better to build a function, which we'll do later on. So we'll build a function called display items, and whenever we enter 1, it'll pass in the parameter 1. Display items will be a function that takes one parameter, and it will know which objects to print depending on what parameter it takes. When we display items with the parameter 1, it'll display the ordinary items. You'll need to add a break after every case so it doesn't go to the other cases. Then repeat the whole thing for 2 and 3. So each time, depending on what they want to display, enter the parameter 2 or 3. Right, so the main function complete, nothing more needs to be done to it. Now, we just have to build this display items function. Now remember, what I like to do when building a function is add a comment. So I'll type display items function. This function will only print out things on the computer, so we'll put void as return type. We're not expecting it to do anything or give anything back, it will just display items on the screen. So we'll type display items, plus it needs to know what choice you entered, 1, 2 or 3. We'll pass it in an integer parameter. We need to prototype our function. So copy the header and paste it above your main. We prototype this because when we come across it in our main, it knows it's a function which was made later on. And a reason reprints or functions one more time is because whenever we come across it right here in our main program, it knows that it's a function that we made later on. So to build the display items function, first we need to have access to the file which has all the items. And this is a file with all the items in it. We already know how to open a file to gain access to it, and that's through the ifstream object. Now do ensure you have included your ifstream, as that's the header file that allows you to have access to the files. To read information from the file, we need to make an ifstream object. So name your object, we'll call it file objects. So this can be put on 2 different lines. Then you have the constructor of what file you want this object associated to, and we want to associate this object with the objects.txt file. Then we need to make 2 variables. The first will store the name of the object and the second will store the energy. The first variable will be a string and will store the name of the object. The second variable will be a double and will store the energy of the object. So we need to test which choice they entered, and we'll do this by making some if statements. Now if the choice they entered, which is x, is equal to 1, That means they want to display the ordinary items. So they want to display the items that have no effect on the character. So we loop through each object. Each time we loop through, we want to check if the energy is equal to 0. If it is, then we want to print it. So first we want to loop through each object. So we'll make a while loop and in it write object file. Then we'll store the first in name and the second in energy. This will keep looping through while your file is open. It will tell it to loop through the first thing stored in name and stored in energy. So we want to check that whenever you loop through an item, if the energy is equal to 0, then print it out. So cout, name of object, space, then energy, and then end line. We'll be looping through the entire file. Whenever it gets to the one where the energy is equal to 0, print it. Copy and repeat this twice more. X is the choice that is entered. So if they want to print number 2, this means they want to print out the positive energy items. These items are things like sweets or soft drinks, and the energy is greater than 0. So whenever choice 2 is selected, print out the items that have an energy greater than 0. And when 3 is selected, print out the items that have energy less than 0, like Ninja. These are the harmful items. So we're now ready to run the program. But we shall save this for the next tutorial. So thanks once again, and looking forward to showing you all the program in the next tutorial. Thanks once again, take care, and bye bye.